Good evening, I'm Anna Jabłońska. Welcome to Poland Daily Business. Most of Poland's largest listed state-owned companies have grown in value since the country's conservative government came to power 3 years ago. The total market value of the 15 largest state-owned enterprises listed on the Warsaw Stock Exchange has increased by 75 billion zloty since the Conservative Law and Justice Party won parliamentary elections in the fall of 2015. This stands in contrast to the previous 3-year period when the combined market value of the 15 listed state-owned companies decreased under the government led by Civic Platform Party. Poland's largest energy company, PGE, is looking for a business partner experienced in developing offshore wind farms to join a new project which would be located in the Baltic Sea. The new offshore wind farm would have a total capacity of 2,545 megawatt and supply up to 4 million households with electricity. The project and the new facility connecting to Poland's power grid may cost around 30 billion zloty, which is around 6 billion euro in total. The undertaking would be one of the largest in the history of Poland's energy sector. Hydrogen produced by Lotos will be offered at Polish gas stations. The first 2 refueling points in Gdańsk and Warsaw are to start in the end of 2021. The company has signed a contract to co-finance the 10 million euro. The project is called Pure H2, which provides for the construction of appropriate infrastructure. Currently, the Gdańsk plant produces 13 tons of hydrogen per hour and plans to increase production to 16.5 tons. Thank you for watching Poland Daily Business. Coming up next, Aleksander Wierzyński and his guest. Good night.
Poland Daily Business Edition. Tonight our guest is Matthew Tyrmans, right from New York, our own American political analyst. We used to have divide in Europe. Basically, on the left from River Łaba, we had industrial countries that were very active in the sea trade. On the right side of the Łaba, we had agricultural countries providing food and agricultural products. Now, the same divide concerns Muslims. So on the left on the west, we had countries with diverse population rich in Muslims. On the right side, we have minimal amount of Muslim population. How does this happen? How do you think?
Well, I think that you see ground zero for the divide is in the post-Iron Curtain nations who had to deal with a unelected, tyrannical, oppressive bureaucracy for 2 generations, for many decades, 40, 50 years. And they were told that their culture is going to be subordinated to the Soviet culture. Of the 20th and 21st century progressive utopia. And they rejected that, thankfully. And these are peoples that have had frequently tough history, Poland being the greatest example, where there was imperialism all around, whether it was Austro-Hungarian, German, Prussian, Russian, Tsarist, and then Soviet. And they do care about the cultural values, and if not homogeneity by fiat, knowing that their societies, their cultures were built by their people for many, many centuries, millennia, there's a value system there, as opposed to the quote-unquote elite, progressive, enlightened West, where the historical cultures were broken down by an elite, and especially in academia. And now you see the cultural degradation that happens with cultural relativism. They're one of the major isms of this leftist cohort. They don't care about, the French Academy does not care about French culture. Germany as well. They believe, and this is in the American left as well, they believe that they need to make apologies for the history, and they romanticize the exotic. In this case, the Islamification of Europe that they've embraced started off as something that they found to be very romantic, very, the West is not the best, so let's bring in those who are not Western, even those who are at odds and hostile to the values that have created the most successful civilization in world history, the Western civilization, both in Europe and America. So this Islamification of Europe that's happened from Germany westward, as opposed to those who came out of 1989 looking to just regain their sovereignty, not just national but cultural, neutral, is very much at odds. I've made no secret where I stand on this issue, and I think that the peoples, the electorates, and this is not just in the East and Central European plain, Poles and Romanians and even Austrians now with the 3 Cs initiative looking eastward, not westward, they do care about their societies. It's the technocratic elite that rise to the quote-unquote top, frequently through coercive mechanisms that are defending the status quo that they've injected into their societies against the will of the people. You see that when it gets rejected, they do things like hold referendums over and over again till they get the answer they want. The technocratic elite know how to utilize the technocratic power structures to benefit their worldview. Poland has been on the sort of bad end of this, has been a victim of this because of the double standards that we see. There was never any complaints from the European Union about corruption or media or rule of law or bad behavior or even stolen elections like Gdansk in 2014. EU was nowhere on this because they were working with an incumbent political structure on the ground, Platforma Obywatelska, that was willing to cede Polish sovereignty to Brussels, to the European project. That has obviously inflected in Hungary and Poland first and foremost in the early 2000 teens, and then obviously with Brexit. And the EU is absolutely apoplectic that they're losing their project. You've got commentators like Anne Applebaum who've worked for decades to try and drive her countries, and it's Poland, the US, and the UK, to the global left, to supranational governance structures where she maintained the levers of technocratic power, where she had outsized impact. Well, she's lost all 3 of those battles on all 3 of those grounds of political battle, and they're apoplectic. So they spread lies about rule of law and fascism, and 250,000 Polish marchers, not a single car rearview window mirror broken, now no fights, no arrests, no windows, nothing. And the elite left is tweeting, 250,000 fascists to send on Warsaw. Well, that's at odds with reality, and thankfully we are winning the debate, and this is proof because we are winning, and all they can do is call us Nazis or fascists or some other ridiculous ad hominem attack that is definitely not even remotely grounded in reality.
But without a European Union, this part of Europe would not be as well off as it is, at least so they say.
Yeah, and there's some truth to that. Ascension in 2004 helped Poland because it opened up a new market for Polish players to take Polish human capital and move it around the continent, and that meant learning, transfer, as well as teaching, selling, and buying. So these were very, very helpful dynamics in the early 2000s. But everything is a trend; nothing is static, and the trend became toward too much political coordination, not enough economic freedom, which was what was sold in the first place. It was an economic free trade zone that people could move across to engage in free trade, and then it became all about political harmonization and coordination. What they say, European values. So, those European values only seem to apply as a stick to beat those countries that don't adhere to the right politics, not the right values. Because look at France, they're burning cars every day. Where's rule of law under attack there? Or Germany, where they refuse to cover actual news events if it offends a politically correct sensibility. That, to me, is rule of law under attack. That, to me, is amoral. But those are European values being heeded if they have the right political inclinations to focus on European Union agglomeration of sovereignty as opposed to fighting for your own nation state.
Matthew Tyrman, thank you very much for participating in our show. And that was it for Poland Daily Business.